We've all heard the term impact investing, but no one knows it better than Gayle Jennings O'Brien. She's the CEO of the Prometheus Exchange and principal of Maya Ventures. She's part of a collective of social change makers who are building a diversity-based venture capital ecosystem, which is leveling the playing field for women and minorities. A former vice president of global philanthropy at JP Chase, she managed one of the largest private sector efforts at addressing the skills gap. She recently joined the advisory board of ClimateDonor.org, a crowdsourced funding platform focused on global climate change. In addition, she writes a regular column for Investments and Wealth Monitor magazine and speaks widely about social change, philanthropy, and impact investing. I recently sat down with Gayle at the annual Aspen Ideas Festival, where she shared her passion and commitment to impact investing. Take a look. Let's take a couple steps back. Global philanthropy at JP Chase. To me, there's probably no greater job. You feel good about yourself 24/7. You could coast to the finish line. Instead, you say, no, I'm going in another direction. Did you wrestle with it, or was it just like it was time?
It was time. I did have a medical issue that also brought that to the forefront, in which I had to think about what's life, what's legacy look like, and how do I take all that I've done to date and really do something that is going to be impactful.
So that gets back to Gayle, the career, and Gayle, the calling. So was the calling pretty well defined for you, where you knew exactly what it was you needed to do?
It wasn't. It wasn't. I'll be perfectly honest. I went on what I'll call a listening tour, a listening roadshow, with the idea of wanting to understand where people found their joy and to see where people lit up when they talked and what got them excited, and did that for about a year and got to a place where I could see that people wanted to help other people. People had really innovative ideas, and you started adding all the other things, job creation and new companies, and just how people got excited about ideas. And I thought there's something in that. And then lo and behold, through an introduction, a couple years ago, was introduced to my business partner, Catherine Finney, who runs Digital Undivided, an amazing small business accelerator, which is a intensive program of mentoring and coaching and business curriculum for women of color entrepreneurs in the tech and tech-enabled sectors. And as she and I got to talking and looking at the women and the startups that were coming through her program, I thought, there's more to be done to support women of color entrepreneurs. And that's when the light bulb went off.
And so talk to me about, you've got two worlds that you're operating in right now.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the titles. How much time and energy went into coming up with the names that you chose? Because they're important and they signify something, don't they?
They are. I'm a lover of words and language, and so thank you for that question, because words to me mean a lot. And so as we thought about this, we could have gone the route of hiring a branding company and gotten some great graphic designers for some cool logos. But I sort of sat back and I thought, where do I get inspiration and what sort of feeds my soul? And it's words and it's people. And this work that we're doing to invest in women of color startups comes because of others before us. And so the management company we've named Maya Venture Partners, and that's after Maya Angelou. And then Harriet Tubman came about for so many reasons, the trailblazer that she is. But we also saw that she was polling really well to be on the U.S. $20 bill, and would be the first African-American woman and the first woman in such a long time and on such a very important piece of currency. And we thought, in the same way that she took people to real freedom, right? So taking slaves to freedom, that the work that we're doing by investing in Black and Latino women, that we would be taking them also on a journey to economic freedom. So there was a real tie-in there. But I think modeling and imagery and visualization is really important. So I wanted something that people, when they heard the name of it, could come up with some real strong, positive role models in their mind.
And also fuel you, I would think. I mean, these
Every
are
day.
two inspirational women who've touched so many people. Every morning you wake up and you have to I mean, that's a high standard, a high bar,
Every
isn't
day.
it?
It is. It is. You know, so many people said to me that this work would be hard. You know, part of what I'm doing is raising a fund, a venture capital fund that will then invest in Black and Latino women entrepreneurs. And so I've got to raise the dollars for that. People said it's going to be really hard, really hard. Conceptually, love it, beautiful idea, but it's going to be really hard. And I thought about that, and I said, but you know what? The reason I'm doing this, and the women, the hundreds of thousands of women behind me, that's my motivation, that's my fuel. So between Maya and Harriet and the women entrepreneurs, and just in the U.S. alone, there's 4 million Black and Latino women or companies. That's my energy, that's my fuel. So yeah, I get days, every day I get no's, right? There's going to be, 100 no's to 2 yeses. But those don't deter me because of those very reasons, the Mayas, the Harriets, the women out there. And I've only just mentioned the 4 million in the U.S., right? So you multiply that when you talk about women entrepreneurial communities across the globe. You look at Southeast Asia, you look at India, Africa, Europe, Latin America. I mean, that's where my fuel comes from.
You know, you look at Oprah Winfrey, and she has such a huge footprint and has been so enormously successful. Yeah. And you think, well, you know, there's an African-American president. America's doing pretty good, you know, but then you dig into the numbers, as I was saying to you before we sat down, they're appalling. I mean, it's less than, I mean, there's no other word other than appalling. Yeah. If I'm an African-American woman with a great idea who wants to go and start my business, and there's venture capital money out there for anybody else, I go to get it. The doors are shut, aren't they?
Yes, that was my calling that said, we've got to do this. So the number that struck me the most was 10,000 venture capital deals had been done. So this is that early funding that all startups need. It's those critical first $100,000 to $500,000 that companies need. And so of those 10,000 deals that had been done, and they didn't, don't get me wrong, they range from $500,000 to, 5, 10 million, but that critical first dollars that companies need. So 10,000 of these companies received this funding. Of that, only 24 were Black women-led companies that received funding. Now, I went to Wharton, so my professors will probably disagree with me, but to me, that's statistically zero. That's zero. 0 Black women got funding. Now, what I didn't tell you was that 10,000 that we discovered through this report that Catherine Finney, my business partner, put out through a report called Project Diane, that 10,000, that was over 3 years. So within 3 years, the venture capital market was only able to find and invest in 24 women, Black women entrepreneurs. Now, when you think about 24 deals that were done, and yet there's 4 million Black and Latino women companies, it's appalling. And what I haven't told you is that those 4 million Black and Latino women generated $150 billion last year in revenue. So this, yes, has a social component to it. There's obviously racial and gender and inequality in this work, but there's real economic injustice happening as well. And so part of my calling is that if we, as a country and as a society globally, want to really energize the economy, we've got to be able to bring these women and their companies to Main Street and to the forefront, into the bloodstream of the capital markets and the financial markets. So think about this, that $150 billion that was generated by Black and Latino women last year, if you wanted to invest in that in the same way that you can go and invest in Facebook and Uber and Alibaba, there's not a mechanism that would allow you to do that right now. But if you come and join us in the Harriet Fund, we know where these women are, we know where these companies are, we're mentoring, we're coaching, and we're going to be investing in them. So in some ways, our story is also not just about the women themselves. The bigger story is that this is a conduit to energize the economy and to help bring access to investors and other partners to this engine.
You're the only one out there solely interested in funding women of color. So I want to get the point of view of that that woman who's knocked on so many doors, and finally she meets Gayle. You're manna from heaven to them, I would think. Talk to me about some of these interactions and what you're hearing from women who've been so frustrated for so long.
Yeah. They've been frustrated, but they are hopeful. And they're resilient, they have grit, they have vision, they have a real clear sense of where they're going to take their companies and how they're going to get there. Most of my conversations are really digging into the numbers, digging into their operations, really looking at their management teams, and understanding how they're going to grow, how they're going to be successful, how they're going to take market share. And yes, there's a little bit of that frustration sometimes where the conversation might go, but I got to tell you that's a small part of what we talk about, because they are laser focused on and have a real roadmap of how they're going to grow and succeed.
You started heavy with me, so we'll end heavy. You talked about life and legacy. I see the life in your smile and in your eyes.
I love
you found your life.
I love what I do.
Let's talk a little bit about legacy. When you hang up your hat, you move back to Napa, you're sipping on your Merlot. What's your legacy going to be?
Or maybe Ireland. My husband's from Dublin, Ireland.
Well,
I'm happy to retire
there's lots of
there.
options, I'm sure, available for you. What do you want that legacy to be?
I'd like that legacy to be that I was a part of this movement to bring Black and Latina and women around the world into the mainstream of all economic conversations.
Gayle, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next, a remarkable survivor story and the road to recovery and peace.